I want to move back into another film that you worked on, and that's The Giver. We had a conversation years ago when you were in the early process of developing it, and at that point you were rereading the book. You've done lots of adaptations, so I mean you worked with comic book source material. I, Robot is very loosely based on a science fiction novel, but this one came with certain expectations because it's very beloved as a novel, as it's often taught in the context of middle school and high school classrooms. So talk to me about the adaptation process and the potential and the problems that you saw with it.
There was several other producers with me on this. Nikki Silver was primarily the woman who had developed this. And the process of adapting it from a novel, it's again very similar that you've got that target audience of readers who frequently are disappointed by what they see in a movie. And you have to listen again and try to make the movie for that audience. But sometimes you can't spend $20 or $30 million making it for an audience that's not that big. So you've got to find ways of widening that out. So, have any of you read The Giver? Is it part of the school reading here? Yeah. So Jonas, who's the hero, I think is like 12 or 13 years old in the book. Not a great track record of making movies with 12 or 13-year-old heroes. 10-year-olds want to see a 12-year-old hero. 14-year-olds don't. So we took a risk in aging up Jonas to be graduating from high school. And then all the stuff around that. And the casting of that person and making them sort of hold the movie together. And Jeff Bridges is in there, Meryl Streep is in there. We've got lots of other notable names to try to bring that, to some momentum. But it's tricky. And it's very difficult to do. And I think essentially we missed the emotional heart of the movie because it doesn't have that ringing emotion at the end when he sees the house that it does in the book. We're accused a little of not wrapping up neatly at the end of the movie, but if you've read the source material, it doesn't wrap up at all. And the other thing that I think we fought is that this book came out in 1994, and out of that dystopian youth novel came Hunger Games, came Divergent, came lots of other material, and then someone decided to go back and make this. And so it looks derivative after these things have been made, even though it's the first one. I made a science fiction movie at Disney called The Puppet Masters by Robert Heinlein, who's a famous science fiction writer. And it didn't do very well for the same reasons, because all the things that were in there were things that everyone else had borrowed from. And as a matter of fact, if you go back and read Robert Heinlein's book, the name, the number, the number that is for the agent, for the hero of the movie, is 0007. Ian Fleming took one off and made that Bond. But that was Robert Heinlein who clearly wrote that well in advance of Ian Fleming. But it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You can make a movie and say, no, we were first. It's our movie. No one cares. It doesn't matter. So we suffered a little from that. But I think we could have made a better movie. It's hard. It's hard with kids. It's hard with actors who aren't at their peak or approaching that. But I think they did. Brenton Thwaites did a great job. But it just didn't combust.
Right now, very recently released on Netflix, is another film that you produced, sequel to Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. I'm interested, so you did this and now you're working on a Netflix series. Can you talk to us about the ways that you see the industry changing? Because one of the things that you're most well known for is the big blockbuster released during the summer, under very specific circumstances. But now we have on-demand entertainment. So what's going on and what do you see happening in the future?
There's no question that on-demand entertainment is here. I would hope you don't watch movies or my movies on your iPhone. But it's here, it's available. And part of that is the headlong rush into a digital space. And that's fine. It's here. There's no fighting it. It's like standing at the beach and trying to hold back the waves. It's not going to happen. Because I think it's a better experience to see the movie in the theater. Crouching Tiger is a complicated movie purchased by Netflix as their first movie they purchased and went to from the beginning. And the interesting, odd experience for me as a producer is, I don't know if anybody saw it. I have no idea. It's only in 12 IMAX theaters in the country because theater owners are rebelling against the day and date strategy that Netflix has. It did pretty good business in China, but it's unknown here. And so if you've seen the movie, I have no idea if you've seen it. And if you've seen the movie and your friends have seen the movie, you might not have seen it in the same week or month. There's no dialogue. There's none of that interaction that happens out in the lobby or happens around the water cooler because it's not a cultural event. Netflix had trouble with that with Beasts of No Nation in the Oscar campaign because Idris Elba and all that. It just never caught fire. No one saw that. We didn't know who saw the movie. There was no event around it. Birth of a Nation is a movie that you're going to see this fall in October, made by Nate Parker about the Nat Turner slave rebellion of 1831. It's a fantastic movie with more scripture in it than any Christian movie you've ever seen. And it's emotional. I was at Sundance with 1,500 people who were standing, applauding and weeping at this movie. And they made a deal at Sundance. And they got several offers, but the biggest offer was from Netflix for $20 million. He spent 10 to make it. But he also got an offer from Fox Searchlight to put it in theaters, and it was less, it was 17 million. He took the 17. Because there's a date that you can target in October 6th or whatever it is, and you can have a screening at community centers, at theaters, in schools and universities, churches, where you can create an event and you create dialogue about it, and that starts to move through the culture, and that's part of the reason they made the movie. And I think he has an upside that potentially that movie could, financially be successful to allow him to tell other stories that he wants to tell. So to me, it's very hopeful that movies like that and thinking like that will keep people coming back to the theaters. It's our responsibility as filmmakers to make movies that draw you into the theater. If we're not doing our job and we don't make it more interesting than your 42-inch screen at home, shame on us. We have to create a reason for you to come back to the theater and see it in 7.1 or Dolby Atmos on an 80-foot screen and get immersed and go live in another world for 2 hours. That's our responsibility to do that. But it's hopeful that that discussion and that stuff can still happen in a theater context. And I think it's just harder to happen in a digital context. It'll evolve. I think we're going to see Netflix do different things to combat that. We see Amazon already trying to do screenings to try to create that. It's an interesting cultural phenomenon. We're just on the edge of it, and there's no rules. And so everybody's trying to experiment and find out what's the best way to engage the audience in a deep way about this topic.
As the director of the film festival, I have to say everything you just said in advocacy of seeing things in a theater and community. Amen. Preach it, brother.
We were talking outside that I would bet no one in here has seen It's a Wonderful Life in a theater. And I'm telling you, I've seen it. There's one head. So I've seen the movie a lot. We've all seen it at Christmas. We've seen it with commercials. We've seen it with all this stuff. And It's a Wonderful Life became a classic before DVDs and before VHS. There's a reason it became a classic. And it became a classic because people saw it in a theater. And I'm telling you, you should be sponsoring this. You should have a screening and put this many or more people in a room to watch it. And the jokes from 1939 still work. The emotions still work. The performance of Jimmy Stewart is still powerful today. And it's a different experience in a dark room with a bunch of other people, some you know and some you don't, who react in the same time to that story. And that is powerful. By the way, film critics in the 30s said the same thing, that the culture goes every week to be inspired, you know, and do this. The problem is they're not going to churches and synagogues. They go to movie theaters. That should be the same thing that happens in a church environment. That should be the reason we come on Sunday morning, is we come to be inspired and hear the gospel story retold in a compelling way. And unfortunately, that doesn't always happen.
You know lots of famous people, and I don't want to turn this into the celebrities that you know, but I do want to ask, who are some of the people that you've been happiest to work with over the course of your career?
I just finished a movie called The Promise with Christian Bale and Oscar Isaac, and they're terrific. Actually, it won't be in the movie because it's got on the cutting room floor. I mean, that shows what kind of power I've got. But there's a scene that I have with Christian Bale. They cast me at the last minute to be the U.S. ambassador from Malta in 1915. But
don't you have a little bit of pull over what ends up on the cutting room floor?
you'd think. But Christian is a champ. He brings his A game every day. He doesn't just run off to his trailer. He hangs out. He's a jokester. He can be serious, and he's devoted to his family. If he had more than 3 days off in Spain, he was back to LA to be with his family. He lives quite low-key in Southern California, and yeah, I think he's probably one of my new favorites to hang out with. He's just a very cool and authentic human being.